Welcome everybody to another Bay Trail Confidential. My slides were going a little long, so I decided to end them a moment early. But I want to welcome everybody. We've got a great show planned, and I'm going to go ahead and start my other set of slides. So we are Bay Trail Confidential, and I am joined by my friend and co-presenter, Lee Huo. How are you doing tonight, Lee? Oh, can you unmute? I think I made it so you guys can unmute. Oh, I didn't make Lee. Oh, hold on. One quick second here. You're the one person I forgot to set up for this. All right. Lee, try unmuting now.
There we go.
There we go. Our one little Zoom glitch. So Lee, we are here to do another Bay Trail Confidential. And it's kind of a special one because it's actually going to morph into Ridge Trail Confidential. And I'm joined by three guests who are associated with the Ridge Trail. So Marie Sales, she is the Development Director of the Bay Area Ridge Trail Council. Is that right? Marie, why don't you unmute and tell us how you're doing tonight?
I'm doing great today. It was nice to be here and join everybody. Hi to all of our Ridge Trail folks that are joining, and nice to meet the new folks.
Yeah, and we've got Ryan Mack. You're the Deputy Director of the Ridge Trail. How are you tonight, Ryan?
Doing well. Thanks, Rodney. Good to be here and good to see the great turnout tonight. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
You know, I want to put your, and then we've got Dan Allison, who is a Ridge Trail circumnavigator. So Dan, thanks for joining us. The other thing about Dan, and you saw it in the slideshow, is you take a lot of photographs when you're out on the trail.
Yes, I do.
And, thanks. We always really appreciate that. So thanks for sharing those. I should mention that we are hosted by San Francisco City Guides, a nonprofit that does walking tours of San Francisco, and that there are show notes for the program at this website, and we will that will be in the email I sent with the survey tomorrow, and we'll try to get that in the chat too, but you'll get more information there. We'll also have a link to the recording that we'll have from tonight. So here's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to do a little more greeting before we get started, a quick Bay Trail update, and then we're going to really focus on the Ridge Trail on the show. This is something I really wanted to do, and I've had a great time exploring the Ridge Trail, thanks to my friends here. And then I'll do a little talk about some of the experiences I had on my vacation that I just got back from, and some of the things I noticed around the country with walks on rivers in cities. And here is our Ridge Trail. And instead of doing Bay Trail cred tonight, we are going to do Ridge Trail cred. And we're going to show where we have been on the Ridge Trail. And this is mine. And I don't think it's not going to be that impressive. Maybe at 30% if I'm lucky, maybe 25% of the ridge. Lee, I don't think I got anything from you. I know you said you had Ridge Trail cred. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you've been on the Ridge Trail?
Sure, I absolutely have. I'm a trail guy, but not just a Bay Trail guy. So I go on all trails. I would say most of my Ridge Trail experience is probably in the East Bay, in the Marin area, and most of the peninsula.
Right, because you grew up on the peninsula. That's right. You were telling me that going to these places near Millbrae was really important to you.
That's right. Absolutely. That's kind of where I fell in love with trails in general, and in particular shoreline trails.
So let's look at Marie's. Marie, you have got great Ridge Trail cred. And where do you want to go next, Marie? What's your next ambition on the Ridge Trail?
Well, I've just calculated my numbers and I'm at about 40%. And I think I was just up in Marin at a special access event we had, and I want to close the loop in Marin. So I have the area by Samuel P. Taylor, a little farther south of that, Samuel P. Taylor, and the trails that'll connect me back to Mount Tim. I think I've done them in the past, but I want to just make sure I've done all those miles and close that gap.
Well, I'd love to do that too. And if you're at 40%, maybe I'm at like 20%. I think I'm like half of what you've done. And then we've got Ryan, very impressive, Ridge Trail cred. And you're fairly new to the Ridge Trail Council, right?
Yeah, Rodney, that's true. It's been less than a year, so I guess probably like somewhere between 8 or 9 months now, I think. But having been a resident of the Bay Area for, oh gosh, is it maybe 18 plus years now? I feel over the years I had come across quite a many sections of the Ridge Trail. And I think when I would travel for work, try to check out areas down on the peninsula and close to the South Bay when I could too. But as you can see, I've still got a lot left to explore and trying to make my way around as well. And I think there's areas of the South Bay and kind of the southeastern loop that I'm interested in checking out that I just haven't gotten over to yet, but would love
So that's what's next maybe for you is down here?
That's what I'm hoping. And hopefully the temperatures as they cool off towards the end of the year, it'll hopefully be a nice area to explore in the fall and early winter.
Yeah, and then we have Dan. Dan, you have done, I think you said 90 something percent?
92%.
92%. And really, I don't see, well, I guess there's a couple of properties in the north that you haven't gotten to yet.
Sonoma, Napa area.
And the other thing about you is you've done all of this not using a car. You've done it all. You've accessed everything by public transportation or on foot.
And bicycle, yes.
And bicycle. But certainly don't want to leave out bicycle. So very impressive. We'll be getting back to the Ridge Trail in a second. So there's Dan's cred again. But we do want to do just a real quick Bay Trail update. And this is, I don't even know why I'm telling you guys this. I think everybody knows that the Tunnel Tops Park is now open. I have not been there. So if anybody in chat wants to share some thoughts about their experiences going there, or what I need to see, what's going to blow me away at the Tunnel Tops, please tell me. We will certainly be doing a future show on it. It's like getting Christmas presents, getting these new sections of park added, these new trails. This is considered part of the Bay Trail. So yeah, feel free. And by the way, we love chat. So feel free to put whatever you want in chat. I think I'm echoing a little bit. So maybe if anybody's unmuted or anybody's unmuted who can mute, maybe that would help. All right.
Rodney.
Hey, Paco, how you doing?
I'm fine.
I didn't realize. Hold on a second. Let me check one thing. I don't know how you did that, Paco. Anyway, let's start talking about the Ridge Trail. And first thing I want to do, I'm going to ask you to mute Paco. How are you doing that? And so there's an excellent Ridge Trail guidebook. We've got the map cards for the Bay Trail. But this is a great reference for figuring out what you want to do on the Ridge Trail. And here is a location on the Ridge Trail website. They've got all kinds of tools there. Excuse me. And you can order the book there. It's also available from other booksellers. We're going to really focus today on Ridge Trail hikes that are accessible by public transportation. I was really excited by what Dan had done, and I wanted to, I just like that idea in general. And a lot of my adventuring on the Bay Trail has been with public transportation. So we have a bunch of places that we're going to talk about. And here are just like the high level takeaways that I kind of came up with about the Ridge Trail. And I'll invite my guests to add on to these. But first of all, you're going to get awesome views of the Bay Area. So you're going to be able to see, Dan was saying that you can actually, got some noise coming in here. Hold on a second. Why is that happening? Is anybody else getting that? So, you're going to get great views of the Bay Area. There's a wide range of surfaces. So there are some surfaces that won't be great for people with mobility challenges, but plenty that are. I ran across a lot of paved area because I was on my road bike. You'll find it more rural and wild than the Bay Trail. It's going to be a little more away from urban areas in general. You'll get to see what's called the WUI, the wilderness urban interface on the Bay Trail. And one of my pieces of advice I want to give you guys is to really do a little research before you go out on some of these hikes, because it's going to make it a lot easier to follow the trails. So I thought we would talk. I actually did this adventure yesterday, which is Berryessa Bart Station, and I'm gonna ask Marie, why don't you tell us a little bit about this? This is one of the newest sections of the trail.
Yeah, we were in a long involved engagement of planning for this Bart Berryessa. It was really 15 or 20 years of planning to have a Ridge Trail trailhead start at the future station. And in June of 2020, we were able to have a ribbon cutting. And as you can see, there is embedded signage there, really amazing interpretive signage, maps, wayfinding signs that you're seeing behind Rodney. And that trailhead then connects directly to the Penitentia Creek Trail, which extends all the way through an urban part of the city of San Jose into Alum Rock, which is, Rodney can tell you a little bit more, but the oldest municipal park in California. And then from there, it extends up into the Sierra Vista, and that brings you to the incredible vistas of the Sierra Vista open space. And
Yeah,
you see all of San Jose below you, and it's about a 9-mile point to point starting at the Bart station.
And one of the things we've talked about in the show is how there's all this great stuff in the Bay Area that many of us know the places near where we live, but there's all kinds of great places that aren't that far. And so this, for me, is an example. I'd never been to Alum Rock Park, and I'd love to hear. By the way, I screwed up the poll, so the poll should have been multiple choice. So I'm not sure how many of you have been to Alum Rock Park, but it is really one of the gems of the Bay Area. And being able to get to it from Bart on this trail is really fabulous. Now, I'm going to show you some of so here's some of my adventure going up there. This, by the way, is Marie, I believe, right behind.
Nope, that's Liz Westbrook, former trail director.
So it's another one of the Ridge Trail people.
Yeah.
So leaving the Bart station, you're going to navigate through some neighborhoods. You will eventually end up in Penitentia Creek Park. By the way, I think that's a really cool name. I guess it's Spanish for penance. So it would be a park where you go, if you've done something really bad, you could go to this park and think about that, I suppose. It's a beautiful park. Here's a nice picture from our friend Ron Horry, who's a regular attendee of this show. And then you get to these boardwalks that connect Penitentia Park with Alum Rock Park. And you are not supposed to bike on these boardwalks. I did not. I obeyed that rule. I think it's, rules are there for us to follow. It did seem a little fussy to me because there was nobody around, and maybe they wouldn't mind. Or you could go on the road right here, and there's not a lot of cars there. But that connects you to Alum Rock Park, and here I am, kind of coming through there. And then you're along the Penitentia Creek in Alum Rock Park, which is, as Marie said, one of the oldest parks in California. This bridge, I believe, is like well over 100 years old. And then I was looking for a picture of a water fountain. So this is actually a water fountain in the park. It has lots of water fountains. That's really important this time of year. And, it was hot yesterday. It was getting up to about 90 degrees. So I really wanted to hydrate. And I did not get to the high points that Marie was talking about on the Sierra Vista open space. And I think it was probably wise not to, because it would have been fairly steep. And, there's only so much water. So I decided to let the mountain win yesterday and to save it for another day. But Dan, I know it looks like you were certainly there. Dan, why don't you tell us about your experiences doing this hike?
Well, I've done it in cooler weather mostly. It's the part along Penitentia Creek has sun and shade, and then of course when you get into Alum Rock, it's much shadier and much cooler. But the trail up the south-facing slope of the canyon to Sierra Vista open space is steep and sunny, so it's a great hike for spring or fall or winter, not for summer. And I've ridden it from Berryessa to Alum Rock on my bike, and I've also walked it as well. I don't have a trail bike, so I haven't ridden my bike beyond the beginning, but that's my experience, and it's wonderful being along the creek when it's flowing. Right now, only small parts of it are flowing.
Yeah, it's still it's a delightful place right now because in the canyon, because it's so cool, it's so shaded. So I'd say like do that part, maybe save this part for a different time. And then the other thing that was going on with me was I'm up there in the park and I'm getting kind of tired and it's hot. And then I did a little search and I found there was a very nice looking taqueria down below. So I descended down to the Taqueria El Cerrito, which I can highly recommend. It is in San Jose. I mean, everyone who follows the show knows I'm a big fan of taquerias near the Bay Trail, but this was another great one. And I don't even know what this drink was, but it was really good. It was really cold. So that is one example of a great hike you can do on the Ridge Trail and out and back using public transportation. Marie or Ryan, anything you want to add to that?
I'm just going to add in there, we have amazing park partners. You'll hear us talk about them all the time. And same with Alum Rock. Not only, do we have the county park partners and the folks that work there. There's a beautiful little science center there, as well as California Native Plant Society does a lot of restoration work there. And we have a lot of volunteers that help support that park and keep it beautiful.
Yeah.
And lastly, City of San Jose. Top of the list for helping coordinate a lot of the work that we're doing over there on trails.
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to give that shout out to City of San Jose as well. And I think if you enjoy that stretch as well, I think it's a good chance when you're in the area, maybe to check out some of the other trails that you could also take your bike and or hike, walk and run along there as well. The Coyote Creek Trail out of San Jose as well. So the city's done a lot of great work for some of these multi-use pathways. And that's a great example of it. And Coyote Creek's another one as well.
Just as someone who's a user of these things, I'm really impressed by what we see in the South Bay, both Ridge Trail and Bay Trail. Things like the Guadalupe River Trail, all the stuff that goes towards Alviso is really great. And this was just another example of that. So yeah, that's great. Let's go look at some more things on the Ridge Trail. In San Francisco, there's a lot. So this is all Ridge Trail going through San Francisco. So you can traverse the city on the Ridge Trail, go up to Twin Peaks. Now here's one of my favorite spots to get on since I'm a Haight-Ashbury tour guide. This is on Stanton Street, and you could be walking on Stanton Street and you could just walk right by all this. Here's a close-up of it. And it is a Ridge Trail sign, and you just go up these little stairs, and it's like right between two houses. And then next thing you know, you're on this wooded trail going up to Mount Sutro. And you'll of course, get the tremendous views up there. There's a good Ridge Trail sign. Here's a family on top of Twin Peaks.
I'm closer to that place.
You've been there, Paco? And
Actually, Rodney, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Paco.
Oh, I've been there. I'm very close to that place too.
You're very close to, well, that's great, Paco.
You know what? I couldn't mute myself. How come?
Something's wrong. It's really odd. But anyway, we always love having you on the show, Paco. So you will be an extra guest on the show. Okay.
Right. I will mute myself right now. I'll try it.
So Dan, you've circumnavigated the trail. And one of the things with the Ridge Trail that you can do that we haven't talked about so much with the Bay Trail is you can do a backpacking trip, and there's campgrounds. So Dan, why don't you tell us about this backpacking route that you'd like to do coming from the Golden Gate Bridge?
Thank you. First, I'll say what circumnavigation is. It's the intent to walk the entire trail, which is at 400 miles right now. And the staff may want to say more about circumnavigation and trail mileage, but this trip for me is a more adventurous trip. It includes backpacking and transit. And I realize the map is kind of small, but I will sort of walk through what I've done before. At the south end of the Golden Gate Bridge, there is transit access. Golden Gate Transit and Muni both serve the south end, not the north end, but just the south end. I've walked across the bridge and then up the trail into Golden Gate National Recreation Area. You see the two campground symbols. There are two campgrounds within the recreation area that you can get reservations for. And then the next campground symbol is Toll Campground, which is where the road goes over the shoulder of Mount Tam. And at that location, there's a Marin Stage Bus 61. It doesn't run a regular schedule all day long. It's primarily morning and then afternoon, evening, but it does allow you to go both east towards Marin City and west towards Stinson Beach. And there's also a hike campground there, which costs $7 to stay in, considerably less than it costs for a regular campsite. And then continuing further north, that's Molinas Ridge, that long stretch of trail you see there. And it leads eventually down into the canyon of Lagunitas Creek into Samuel P. Taylor State Park, where again, there's transit access, Marin Stage, Route 68, and a hike and bike campground that you can stay in, same situation, $7 a night. And there's also what I call flag stop transit access at White Hill, which is the one you see to the right of Samuel P. Taylor. What flag stop means is that the bus driver will drop you off, but if you want to get picked up there, you have to contact Marin Transit ahead of time to ask for the pickup because it's not a regular stop for them. And then the trail continues somewhat further north into Lucas Valley Preserve, which is the endpoint that you see there where the little water symbol is. So it's a great adventure. You can do it in pieces by using transit, or you can do it as a through hike by using the campgrounds. And it is some of the most beautiful area on the Ridge Trail. And it is also more likely to be cooler during the summer. No guarantees, but being close to the coast, it tends to be cooler than a lot of the rest of the Ridge Trail. So I have done that section a number of times, camping and using transit.
Yeah, that sounds fabulous. I mean, I'm just looking at this line, I just imagine the amazing views of the coast. Probably a lot of bird life too, right?
Yes, there is. And my background is the Matt Davis Trail, which is just north of Pantoll. And it's one of my favorite pieces of trail on the Ridge Trail. Incredible views down towards Bolinas and Stinson Beach. And once you get out a ways back to San Francisco, the photo that I have as my background is, you can't see it, but San Francisco would be just over my head.
You were telling me one of your big surprises from circumnavigating the trail is like you can pretty much see, you said San Francisco from everywhere.
Yes, well, almost everywhere, not the South Bay, but you can see San Francisco or Mount Tam or Mount Diablo from pretty much every location on the trail.
But I should ask, are you a fan of the Salesforce Tower?
I think it's kind of cute. I'm not one of those people who dislikes it. It's the thing that sticks up above the fog on most days.
Yeah, I like it at night. I think it's really cool at night. But this is great. So this would be like a 3-night backpack. And and again,
2 or 3
entirely,
nights.
entirely, if you're worried about, well, I'm going point to point, how am I going to get back to where I started? That's why the public transit is so helpful. So cool. We talked about that. And then I just wanted to ask, so Marie and Ryan, so you've got 390 miles of Ridge Trail.
400.
400. You're now at 400. Don't want to sell you guys short. So let's say that I was able to confiscate a Russian, super or giga yacht and turn the money over to the Ridge Trail. Where would you want to spend that money next? Like, what's the next big project for the Ridge Trail? You can each answer that.
All right. Well, we practiced this one before and I had an answer, but I think I'm switching. I would love to see, a couple of different things, but one of the things I'd love to see is an overhaul of our signage, wayfinding, interpretive signage, revising our map system. I would love to have a way to make the Ridge Trail easier to access and more, easily navigable for users. So a portion of that would go to the kind of, commuter user access informational structure. And I know that there's lots of money that could be used to close the gaps. I'm going to turn it over to Ryan for that, because he really is in charge of the trail side of things.
Thanks, Marie. No, I think that'd be a great addition too. And on the trail side of things, I think one of the answers that we talked about last time, which would be fantastic, is these complicated transportation crossings over some highways and helping make those happen and connecting those corridors. So I think that would be a big piece, Highway 17 being a prime example of that. And then I think, where we have a lot of gaps up north, I know there's some beautiful country that would be great to connect up some of those gaps in Sonoma and Napa. If I had to shout out to one place, I think the trail along North Sonoma Mountain there is spectacular. It would be amazing to be able to connect up to there from Petaluma or connect on the other side to some of the other park spaces as well.
So things like tunnels, bridges, getting us over or under these highways would be great. Now, Lee, it is a very large super yacht. I think we can get a lot of money out of it. Lee, what do you want to use some of the money for the Bay Trail?
Well, that's a tough one, but I would say the highest profile, biggest bang for your buck, maybe not bang for your buck, but the best that you can get for the money in terms of usage is the west span of the Bay Bridge. But we're going to need a really, really big yacht for that one. That's going to be an expensive project. Not only would it be part of the Bay Trail, but it has a high potential for people to use as a commute area as well. So we're really hoping that that's going to happen someday.
And I should mention that until the yacht, we seize the yacht, there is a way you can support the Ridge Trail, which is you can be a member of the Ridge Trail. And I went ahead and joined this weekend because I love supporting our public space in the Bay Area. So go to their website and join as a member, a yearly member, and that's a really good feeling. I did want to mention one other area that's special to me that I have explored and is a great place to go by public transportation, and that's Martinez on the Carquinez Strait. And the great thing about Martinez is they have an Amtrak station. So from the Amtrak station, you can go to this thing called the Hewlett Hornbeck Trail. And as I was putting the show together, I started thinking, oh, Hewlett Hornbeck, like who was that guy? And I found his obit, and this guy, he was a World War II veteran, and then after that, he dedicated himself to acquiring public space in the Bay Area. He lived in Martinez, And, I think they said he got like 50,000 acres of public space added to our local parks. So, I mean, what a great legacy. And I'm so glad this trail is named after him. This trail has wonderful views of the Carquinez Strait. And it's very, you'll be very much on your own if that's what you like. It's great on a bicycle or on foot. And then you can go to the other side of Highway 4 to Mount Helen and Mount Wanda. You go underneath, this is an underpass under Highway 4 with a pretty cool little mural along it. And this is all part of the John Muir Land Trust, who I know they're partners with you, Ryan and Marie, just among the many partners. Just a really beautiful area. This, I think, is a picture from probably spring. And then Dan, you got this great photograph of this windmill. You did want me to mention that this is not an actual working windmill, but looks really good in a photograph. And Dan, I just want to thank you. Like, so many of these photos that I've been showing are photos that you took. And I just think that's extra special when people go out to these places and get great photos that we can all enjoy on Zoom. So let's see. I want to make sure we had some other questions that we wanted to cover on the show about the Ridge Trail. Maria and Ryan, what else would you like to add about what's going on with the Ridge Trail? Like, what do we have to look forward to in like the year ahead from you guys?
Well, I think we've got a number of things in the works that are quite exciting. We're looking at a number of regions where we're doing some long-term studies to help close these gaps. So a couple of places that we're doing that are in the South Bay. One example of that is, if you look at the map there, it's great that you have that up. There's sort of two southern loops. And so right now we're looking at a study on the southernmost loop of the Ridge Trail, connecting Mount Umunhum down to Gilroy via Mount Madonna. And so that's something we're actively exploring different routes in that area right now, with the hope of closing some of those gaps down there on the southernmost loop of the Ridge Trail. So that's one area I think that we're particularly excited about. And then another, I think there's potential trail openings on the East Bay there that will connect up to, I think it's a 60-mile stretch when the Garin to Gelderman area, kind of in the southern outside of Hayward Fremont area. Exactly, kind of covering right over that area in there. I think will help close some of those gaps and extend those long connected stretches. And we'll be really excited to add that 60-mile stretch that will kind of be a nice balance to the 80 miles that you can do currently on the west side. And so that really opens up those amazing possibilities for exploration like Dan's doing, where you can figure out where the campsites are along the way. And we do have some of those resources on our website, and turn these, either go out for a long day hike or day ride, or turn it into a multi-day adventure and explore the full 80 or 60 miles.
Yeah, and I asked you guys, like, what were the biggest surprises for you on the Ridge Trail? Like, what's something you wouldn't expect to be there that kind of delights you?
Well, can I just say one quick thing before you asked what we're expecting? We do have a lot of member events that are happening. And so, we, in fact, in another month, we have a member event that's called the East Bay Hills Hike and Ride. And it is a 5-day continuous point-to-point hike and camp out. And it is the 20th anniversary this year. There's information, I'll drop it in the link in. And we provide all the maps and the tour, the hike leaders, as well as all the food. So all you do is show up and hike, and your gear gets brought from place to place. So there's a whole bunch of ways for people to engage with the Ridge Trail through organized events that we host.
Cool. So let's go to that question. You were telling me about something on the Ridge Trail that one would not expect to be there.
And I'll start with that one then. The most unusual place that I've been to on the Ridge Trail is a cemetery, and we have about a 1.1 section down. It's a San Francisco PUC land. It's called Fifield Cahill, and it's right north of 92. And the last stretch of a about a 15-mile stretch is walks you through a cemetery, the Sky Lawn Memorial Park.
Cool. And then
Beautiful
Ryan,
vistas, gorgeous views, and you're walking right past many a gravestone.
if Colma's not enough for you, you definitely
Right.
want to check this one out. What about you, Ryan? What's one of your like unusual sites on the Ridge Trail?
Yeah, and I actually have a second one that I'll add on that goes nicely with what Marie was just saying too. The first one I'll mention is this idea of these the opportunity, I guess, to be able to explore some of the gaps before they're open. So in these very important trail outings, and so Dan was just mentioning where in Marin his hike stopped up at Lucas Valley in that area. And so we're doing these very important trail outings, and Dan actually just came with us this last weekend where we went out onto one of the private ranches. So we've built relationships with these landowners, and they've allowed us to go out on these one-day outings and explore these areas. And so that was something that I think is exciting that you don't often get to do on many trails, is the opportunity to cross an area that might be private property or a private ranch and connect a gap in that sense. And so this one in particular closes that gap between Indian Tree open space and the Lucas Valley area on the other side. So that's something pretty cool to be able to keep a lookout for. And we're hoping to do that more in the coming year, not just on that section of the Ridge Trail, but hopefully in other areas around it as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Just find ways to get people this access.
Definitely. And then the other piece I think that we talked about too, down on the peninsula, there's a really amazing treasure off of Skyline Boulevard near El Corte de Madera Preserve, and it's called the Methuselah Tree. And I don't remember the details off the top of my head, but I think outside of Big Basin redwoods, it's one of the largest redwoods in this region of California. And it's a really magnificent tree right off the Ridge Trail there. And is really a special place. As you're walking along, you kind of come up on it, and is this majestic old growth redwood, and really worth checking out.
Cool. Well, thanks for that. And you guys have given us a lot of great ideas for exploring. Let's go back to this idea of circumnavigation. Dan, like, what inspired you to circumnavigate the Ridge Trail? And maybe what could you tell other people that might get them excited about doing that? You are muted. How do we unmute Dan? Let's see. We have something odd is going on with the sound. I apologize, folks. People who should be able to mute. So you can't unmute. Let me try one thing, Dan. Huh. Gonna make you a co-host again. Co-host. See if you can unmute now, Dan. We may need to have you exit and come back on. I apologize, everyone. We really strive to avoid Zoom glitches, but something seems to be going on with muting. I'm going to try one more thing, Dan. That's not going to work. Can I click on Dan's picture? No, I really can't. I don't think. Let me try that. Doesn't seem to do anything. Dan, I don't know what's going on with with this muting, so I apologize. I will say that
Hi,
Dan.
Rodney.
Oh, we got you.
I'm here. I lost control of my computer for a
Okay,
bit, so it had nothing to do with your end. It was all on my end.
got it.
So you had asked me about
Circumnavigation.
circumnavigation. Would you
Tell
repeat
us-
your question?
So yeah, what inspired you to do it, and what would you say to get other people excited about it?
Well, I am car free and have been for 11 years. So there's really no other way to do it other than catching rides with other people who are doing hikes. But I also took it as a challenge to see what I could do. How can I get to and from the trailheads? And I will say, to be honest, that my tolerance for walking from a transit stop to a trailhead is probably greater than the average person's. And I wouldn't say there are any really long walks, but there are certainly longer walks, and they're not necessarily interesting. Some of them are, some of them are not. So those are the two main things. One is I'm car free, and the other is that I just took it as a challenge. It was a cool thing to see what I could do.
Well, you're car free and you live in Sacramento. So just want everyone to know, like when Dan does these things, he's coming down from Sacramento, then doing the Ridge Trail. So
Yes, and I take the Capitol Corridor train to get into the Bay Area.
that's great. I love public transit. I think everyone on this show has heard me talk about that. I'm not at Dan's status. I do have a car. I try to be car light and not use it very often. But that's great. And my wife and I are really doing more with the train too. So that's great that you're doing that. I think we'll wrap this up and go on to our next topic. Any last thoughts from the three of you, Dan, Marie, Ryan? Go ahead,
I
Marie.
just have one last thing is that one big difference between the Bay Trail and the Ridge Trail is that we are an independent 501c3 nonprofit. And about 60% of our annual budget comes from individual donations from members. So if you're interested in what we do, take a look. And we appreciate so much of our donor support over the years. We have such a committed and loyal donor and member group, and we love to have new people join us.
Cool. And yeah, I think it is interesting to compare and contrast the Bay in the Ridge Trail. And I was thinking about how basically you guys face in different directions. Like we Bay Trail people are looking toward the Bay. You guys are looking away from the Bay at the hills. So just in a literal sense, different perspectives, and yet very much similar goals. Very much, I think, sibling organizations. Lee, anything you want to add to that? Ridge Trail and Bay Trail? Or Ryan, any thoughts on the Ridge Trail and the Bay Trail?
The one thing I think about are the amazing connector trails. We went to a groundbreaking up near both the Napa Valley State Park, and the idea of these regional connector trails that link the Ridge Trail and Bay Trail, or will ultimately. And I think that one's a fabulous example that's well on its way, and it'd be a beautiful way to connect these areas. And so in the near future, be able to do these not just an epic adventure solely on the Ridge Trail, but an epic adventure on the Bay and Ridge Trail, or Bay Trail, Vine Trail, Ridge Trail. So I think there's some amazing opportunities out there. And the other thing I'll add before we move away from talking about circumnavigation too, what Dan was saying too, later this year, I think we're hoping to have additional resources on the website for circumnavigators. So stay tuned for that. And right now we already do have some great resources available. In a second, I'll throw that link down into the chat it's a circumnavigation resource center that we have on the website, and includes things such as a trail tracker, access to different online maps and such as well. So for folks that are interested in doing that and planning those adventures, or just keeping track of their progress around the trail, feel free to take advantage of those resources.
Thanks for that, Ryan. And those, I'll add that information to the show page for today's show. Also, Dan, I saw you put your email out there for people that want to know more about circumnavigation. If you want, I can put that on the website. I see we have Ross Heitkamp in the audience. Ross is also a Bay Trail circumnavigator and a good friend of the Bay Trail Confidential show. And sometimes I think, when we talk about this stuff, these trails do connect, and I don't really see the big distinction between the two. They're both public space for all of us to enjoy. And so I'm almost tempted to change the name of the show to like Public Space Confidential. But I don't know, Bay Trail Confidential has a pretty good ring to it. But this is going to remain a topic I'm very interested in. I'd love to talk more about the Ridge Trail on future shows. And I intend to do a lot more hiking and exploring, also on my bike on the Ridge Trail. And Dan, I think I like your multi-day backpack. So I may need to do that too. So we will move on now to our second topic, which is just going to be really me talking. It's like what I did on my vacation, and I'm not going to go into a lot of depth on this. But one of the things, so my wife and I drove our electric car to Cincinnati and back, did about 6,000 miles. And one of the things we noticed were that there was a lot of great river walks in cities in the United States. And if you're looking for a really walkable area to stay in a major city, think about staying near one of these river walks, because they're great to explore. Often they're paved to a level that's good for people of all mobility types, good for biking. And like the Bay Trail, we're seeing a lot of these urban rivers have been cleaned up. And so this is like a real benefit of rehabilitating these areas. And they're also great places for seeing architecture and public art. So we had the one I think is the gem is the Chicago River Walk. And what we were told was, we did one of these architecture tours on the river. This was a terribly polluted river that nobody was going to go anywhere near. And now you can just see like all these things. There's bars, restaurants. They even have restrooms right on the river. And then here was my favorite. They have taken this gigantic building called the Merchandise Mart, which was the largest building in the United States before the Pentagon was opened. It's the largest building in terms of square feet. And they basically made it into this giant projector. And I recorded some of it. So it's like this really trippy art video by this artist, Nick Cave. I have a couple minutes of this. I thought you guys would enjoy it. It's like going to a drive-in theater, basically. Nick Cave makes these costumes that he calls sound suits. And he's got people dancing, and he's got all this trippy music. And so you're basically just sitting on the banks of the river watching this thing. And it's about I'm going to show you a couple minutes. It's about a 20-minute video. And there were like hundreds of people watching this thing on just like a Thursday night. And this is my favorite, where he has these crazy abacus figures that blend in with the windows. You guys are hearing the sound with this, right? No sound? Oh, then I will move it on. There was sound that went with that. Very cool thing. There's the boat tours that are great for seeing the architecture. Lots of Art Deco architecture in Chicago. So just like this is like the big tourist attraction now in Chicago, the Riverwalk. So if you can stay near that, that's really great. Colorado Springs. This was a pedestrian bridge that gets you to the Riverwalk, and a really, really nice area. Cincinnati has this bridge that maybe some of you know. This is the same guy who built the Brooklyn Bridge. This was like an earlier bridge that he built in very much the same style. So one of the very early suspension bridges, maybe the earliest. So you can walk across that. So here's Sarah going across that bridge. There's wonderful murals showing kind of the history of Cincinnati. Here it is at night. Ballpark is nearby, and we did get to go to a game. And then there's a really nice river walk on the other side in Newport, which is in Kentucky. So that's really nicely done. Iowa City, this is right by the University of Iowa. They've got a couple of pedestrian bridges. And often that's what I'll look for is, are there really nice pedestrian crossings of these rivers? And you can do like a loop. So this is the other pedestrian bridge along the water. And there's like really nice public art and architecture along it. Des Moines' another really great place for river walks. They've got their botanical garden right on the river, which is really spectacular. But also they have two amazing pedestrian bridges. So this one's really fancy. It looks really cool at night. Here's some people crossing that. And then this is the other pedestrian bridge. So you can do a loop between those. So that's one would be here, one would be there. and then it connects with a whole set of trails and take you all over Iowa. So you can, of course, Iowa's known for RAGBRAI and the bicycle event, and you can connect up through this and go to many different places around the state. Here it is at night. That's supposed to be from Chicago. Very crazy sculpture in Chicago that spits out water. I did not get wet. And then this one in Tulsa is really interesting. It was a private donor spent a lot of money building what's called the Gathering Place in Tulsa, and it's really fancy, but everything's free. And the goal is to bring together people from all different walks of life in this park. And it's cool, but it's weird that it's only open like 9 to 6 or something. It has really narrow hours, and then they close it. So I think the big takeaway is just go find these river walks wherever you're going. See if the city has that, and if it does, that's where you're going to want to stay. That was my big takeaway from my vacation. We always have a Serena selection, and our one for August is the Oyster Bay Regional Shoreline, which is located just south of the Oakland Airport. And Serena says she's had a really good time going there. Has some really interesting art. You can see like this is all paved, so this would be good for people of all mobility capabilities. It's good on a bicycle, and then it connects to more of the Bay Trail down here. So great place to visit. Now, we often have a contest and we give away a set of Bay Trail map cards, but we are not having a contest this month. We need to get people submitting photographs. Maybe we need to do another photo contest in a future show, and then we will give away some map cards to somebody. But I will just thank our photographers who have given us photographs. So Dan, first and foremost, lots of great photos. Love that. Ron, I've used your photos before. Great to have more included here. I did take a few myself. I had one other guy I'm supposed to have in there. It's on my website. Now, since the sound didn't work, I know I need to reshare the slides to get us to the famous Happy Trails.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about the clouds if we're together? Just sing a song and bring the sunny weather. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Until we meet again.
So with that, few thank yous. Midnight Kitchen did the opening slides. I always want to thank Sarah, who gives me lots of great feedback on the show. The guy just singing was Jason Meyer, so thank you to him. And our next show will be September 7th. And I think I'm going to talk about rodeo. That's my plan for the September show, although that could change, but that's what I'm thinking of doing right now. And now I want to go to Q&A, which involves me allowing you guys to unmute. Although apparently, Paco, you were able to unmute anyway. All right. And anyone who wants to talk about something, talk about your own experiences with the Ridge Trail, or ask a question for me or my guests, go ahead. Paco, you have anything you want to?
You know what? I haven't been to Portland's waterfront trails, like on the Columbia River and Vancouver waterfront.
So you're recommending the Riverwalk in Portland?
Yeah, because my cousin is based there in Portland, Oregon.
I've been there, and I would agree that there's great public space on the Columbia River in Portland. Great place to go.
Portland Japanese Garden.
The Japanese garden there? In the Rose Garden there is really amazing. But yeah, so that's a great example. Thanks for that, Paco. Paco, how did you like hearing about the Ridge Trail?
You know what? I have a friend, Marie, from Laura Kids to go to one of the CLC activities there.
Cool. Well, great. Thanks for that, Paco. Anyone else want to jump in and ask a question or make a statement?
And you know what? I should have visited that multi-noma.
You have visited that, huh? The
I
tree?
haven't gone to Portland yet.
Oh, well, you should get up there. So other questions or comments? And you can just go ahead and unmute.
Great too, last Sunday too.
The Grateful Dead program, yeah, that was fun. And we celebrated Jerry Garcia's 80th birthday, which was on Monday.
Excuse me, we're gonna have art viewing adventures this coming Monday.
This Monday there will be an art viewing adventures. You can go to my website for information on all these upcoming events. But now we want to hear about, I hope we have a question or comment about the Ridge Trail, because that's kind of what we wanted to highlight on this show. Let me ask Marie or Ryan, what should we cover next when we talk? What's our next Ridge Trail place that we should talk about?
I would say the Carquinez Strait Loop is a really interesting one, and that is both Bay Trail and Ridge Trail. And we crossed 2 bridges, and I think it's a really nice convergence for your program.
And when we talk about it as a loop, are we're thinking bicycling, hiking, or both?
You can do both. The loop itself that I know of is about a 25-mile loop across both bridges, and so for one day, it's probably a good bicycle ride, but you can extend it or you can do different portions of it. And there's tons of really interesting cities to stop and visit, and certainly amazing vistas.
Yeah, I'm thinking like find a B&B in Benicia
Port Costa. There's
Port
a little hotel
Costa.
in Port Costa. And
So
there's the John Muir House that's there over by Mount Wanda. It really is a lot of history and a lot of great outdoor space.
Okay, I'll commit to that. I want to do that. And I'll do it on foot and do it as a multi-day adventure. How about that?
Great.
Ryan, thoughts?
I agree. That was going to be my area that I recommend as well. I also think it'd be interesting to do even at the scale, keeping it at kind of a larger scale, but looking at different overnight options in different areas. I think would be interesting, either camping and otherwise, because I think there's several sections for doing multi-day adventures. So it'd be great to kind of go in depth on the multi-days, I think.
And Lee, I do have to say, like, is this a little inspirational for us Bay Trail people? Maybe we have to up our multi-day game or something, We do have some campgrounds though.
I think that's the biggest challenge for the Bay Trail is since we're in more urban spaces, it's hard to create as many camping grounds. Although there's a couple of ones that are being that are already in existence in the East Bay, at least. I think there's the Point Pinole one, which I think the Water Trail folks use a lot, but I would assume that Bay Trail folks would be able to use it as well. And then there's that new one, I think that was in the news earlier this year or last year, I think, for Coyote Hills.
I've been to the one at Coyote Hills. It's really nice. It's really nice, and it has really good Wi-Fi. Like I could do Bay Trail Confidential from the Coyote Hills Regional Park campground, I think.
Well, again, the Bay Trail is a lot more urban trail, I guess, in a lot of ways.
I mean, that's a question maybe for Dan. Dan, you were talking about like calling the bus services and letting them know you're going to be getting picked up. What's the story with cell phone signals on the Ridge Trail?
The majority of the trail has cell phone service if you are on the ridge, but sometimes the trail drops off the ridge top, except in Sonoma Napa County, it gets sparse, and also in the South Bay, it's sparse unless you can see San Jose. So part of the way of judging whether you're going to have cell phone service is, can you see someplace from where you are?
Yeah, I found in Alum Rock Park, I was sending Sarah text messages about my adventure, and then they didn't go through, and she got like about 6 at once. She heard about the whole, the whole trajectory of my Alum Park adventure. I failed to do something at the beginning of the show, and I'm going to do it now. I did not give you guys the results of the poll, and I will share that. Very interesting to see very diverse sets of geographic locations people are connecting from. So that's always been the goal of the show, is to bring people together from throughout the Bay Area. And as much as that's true for the Bay Trail, it's also true for the Ridge Trail, that it's a system that unites people from, a pretty big region. So I was really happy to see that. Again, lots of hikers and bikers, and no horseback riders. Is that right? Because that's the one thing about the Ridge Trail is you can ride a horse in some places. I screwed up the thing about which parks you'd visited, and you could only choose one. So I guess it's interesting, if you can only choose one, which one would you choose? And Tilden Park seems to have won. I think Alum Rock Park, that is just like, I'm not going to forget that place. What an amazing place. And good to see that so many of you are using public transit to visit these trail systems. Any other thoughts from folks doing it? Maybe some of the Ridge Trail. I know we have some Ridge Trail people who are joining in for the show.
What? Nikki's gonna be there on Monday hosting.
That's always good, Nikki. It's the art program, but we're still focusing on this one, Paco. Any other thoughts about the Ridge Trail? Other Ridge Trail people, where should I go next? Maybe Ross, you have an idea. What's a place you think I haven't been to? Maybe I'll pull up my cred and you can see, actually. Hold on, I got stuff blocking my screen. I'll go to my cred, and then you guys can tell me where to go next.
So Rodney, you're doing it mostly on bike?
No, I'm not. I'm going to commit. I'm not going to do it solely on bike. That's the lesson I learned from Alum Rock is I think I would have been better off without my bike there.
Yeah, because some parts are steep and there's some nice, more level ridge areas, especially along the whole peninsula is very bikeable. But some areas are definitely better to just hike them because there's steep sections, or like Sweeney Ridge has the stairs and the notch, which is really fabulous, but not bike friendly. You have to take a different route.
Yeah, I did do that thing with the stairs, right? That's the notch.
Uh-huh.
I had a very interesting adventure. I descended down to Pacifica, and then I had this idea that I could go do a loop to Skyline College coming up from Pacifica. And I went through a place called Sharp Park, which I just thought that was like, it was named after someone named Sharp, and maybe it was, but it's also where the San Francisco Archery Club is. And I was hiking in this archery range where they're walking around with bows and arrows, firing at things. And they tell you can hike through it, but you have to always go in the same direction. Like if you get lost, don't backtrack, they said. But I did get lost. And I did backtrack, and it was really scary. I could hear arrows flying, and I ended up just descending down to Pacifica and taking an Uber. And it's important to say, like, the Ridge Trail maps did not tell me to go to this place. And Ryan, you told me there's another way I could do a loop that would have not involved any archery at all. Would have been much safer, and so important lesson learned.
Yeah, you can go up Maury Ridge, but it's very steep on a bike. But it's
in fact, I'm going to show you. I'll show you guys the picture, just one picture from that whole adventure, just in case you didn't believe me. And but yeah, so you're saying do more on the peninsula, Ross?
Yeah, I think, Russian Ridge, one of my favorite sections is on Long Ridge, which is kind of down near Saratoga Gap up towards Page Mill Road. There's Peters Creek is just a beautiful section of the Ridge Trail where you're going along next to the Peters Creek, and you're kind of dipping in and out of redwoods. It's fairly level, so it's a nice biking area. It's got, like all ridge, you're either going up or down.
Uh-huh.
But I think it's more pleasant in general, and you can do a pretty nice ride just either out of Saratoga Gap or out of the top of Page Mill Road down. Did it one time when there was snow up there, and it was really fun that day.
And like you both bike and hike, right?
I do.
So what do you think the percentage is of both?
Well, I've hiked the whole Ridge Trail. I've circumnavigated hiking, and I've probably only done 120 miles on bike so far. So I have not biked as much of it.
Well, what we should do? We should do a map of where you've been on the Ridge Trail and then different colors for hiking and biking. That could be interesting.
Yeah, I'm
And then-
got a little
and here-
side project to do a Ridge Trail cred tool. And
Yeah.
so that'll be part of that.
Maybe it can be like both a bay and a Ridge Trail cred, but I
Yeah.
think it's a cool thing. And then here's the one place you don't want to go. Don't go to this place. I don't look too worried there, And then the funny thing was my wife was up at Skyline College and there was no cell phone reception there. So I could not tell her, like, I left her messages saying, oh, if anything happens to me, I was last seen in an archery park. So important lessons learned there.
So pack a fluorescent red vest when you do that section.
Yeah, well, I had the Giants hat, Of course, you better hope there's no Dodger fans there. And I will say the archers were really nice. I basically called out to one of them, like, hey, I'm out here, don't shoot me. And then he said, well, come here. And then he gave me advice on how to get out of there. So I don't know. I don't think that would happen on the Bay Trail. Anybody else want to jump in, comment about Ridge Trail, Bay Trail, whatever? Otherwise, I think we'll call it a night. Really, Marie, Ryan, Dan, really want to thank you guys for coming on as guests. I think Lee has already exited, but I'm always grateful to work with Lee. Some of you might be wondering about Ethel. Ethel is taking a break from being a co-host of this, but she'll be back as maybe a guest at some point. We're hoping to do some hikes of the trail together.
Invite her from Community Living Campaign, Art Viewing Adventure.
You think I should invite her on the art viewing adventure? Maybe we'll do that. Great seeing you, Paco. Great having everybody, and look forward to seeing you next month on Bay Trail Confidential. Everybody have a great night.
Thanks, Rodney.
Thank you, Rodney. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thanks, Rodney. Great show.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Also, I'll say hi to Laura.
I will do that.